The moderator is Carol Talon, the author of PropTech. And on the panel will be Mark Nealon, from the founder of My Study Pal, Ciaran Walsh, the founder of DOG Internet of Things, Neve Sterling, investment consultant from HBAN, and Isabella O'Keefe, the principal of Sir Valley.
Thank you very much. Okay, first of all, you're all very welcome to this, and I hope that we really want to answer some questions for you today, because obviously funding in VC is such a vital part of getting any startup and any innovative solution rolled out across the marketplace. So we've got high expectations of our guests and our panelists today. So before we start, I would just like each of our panelists maybe just to introduce themselves and the role that they'll take today.
So hi guys, I'm Mark. I'm the founder of a tech startup called My Study Pal. So to give you a bit of brief background on me, I sat my user 2 years ago, saw that students struggle to manage their time, and built a solution to enable students to develop study timetables in minutes instead of 5-6 hours that it took. In terms of funding, we've been supported by Leo from Enterprise Ireland, and of course a lot of personal and friends and family funds. I've worked, I'm 20, so I've worked 3 years in a school uniform shop and getting my hands dirty. The most painful day of my life was transferring all that money across into the business to be gone 2 days later into our first lot of development fees. But yeah, that's me, and that's kind of my funding journey so far.
Thank you, Mark.
Hi there, I'm Isabella O'Keefe, principal at Ciaran Valley Ventures. Ciaran Valley is an early stage venture capital fund, and we invest in predominantly software businesses across the UK and Ireland. We invest at seed stage, so anything between 250k to $1 million. To date, the fund was started in early 2017 by my boss, who is a guy called Barry Downs. Barry is a founder himself, so we do tend to kind of pride ourselves on having that founder kind of mentality around the fund. To date, we've done about 11 investments. We predominantly in Ireland. We invest alongside a lot of Enterprise Ireland HPC startups. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Isabella, and I know the founder mindset is definitely something we're going to discuss today.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Neve Sterling. I am a consultant for HBAN. So HBAN is the Halo Business Angel Network. We are a network of 700 business angels across the island of Ireland. And we invest in early stage companies. Usually the vast majority of the companies we would see would be HBCU companies, and typically we invest in the range of somewhere between 250 and $1.5 million, a little bit of leeway either side of that. So I source deal flow for HBAN.
Thank you, Neve. And Ciaran?
My name is Ciaran Walsh. I'm the founder of DOG Internet of Things. I'm a financial advisor and professional dog trainer. About 4 years ago, when I started volunteering at a rescue shelter, I couldn't believe how the entire system works. And to put it mildly, if somebody came in to me as a financial advisor and said, we want to set up a rescue shelter, we want to organise things like this, I'd say not a chance. So the Dog Internet is basically to bring the art of dog training to everybody affordably and accessibly by using the power of the internet.
Very good, thank you, Ciaran. And I think it's worth pointing out that in addition to our investor experts here today, both of our entrepreneurs are award winners just over the past few months. So, Ciaran, you won the Social Enterprise Award.
Social Enterprise Ireland Academy Award quite recently. So
congratulations.
I'll be sitting with people like Neve and Isabel for the next 6 months.
Well then, it's good that you're getting a head start here today. And Mark, I understand that you won the Enterprise Ireland Student Enterprise Awards.
Yeah, it wasn't the actual EI Student Entrepreneur Awards, it was the EI Student Entrepreneurship Forum, so they sponsor the awards, they provide prize money, they provide the funding for the venue, etc. So, yeah.
Well done. So just to show you that we have a good calibre of startups. So what I'd like to do maybe is get a sense in the room, maybe just by very quick show of hands, how many startups or SMEs who are looking towards funding do we have in the room today? Okay, very good, thank you. And do we have any investors or potential investors in the room today? Thank you. And in terms of tech experts, have we any tech specialists in the room that are actually acting as the bridge between both? Excellent, so thank you very much. Now, before we get started today, I think it's important that we start with the entrepreneurs because they're the people who have the experience, first of all, of seeking investment and the challenge that takes. And today we really want to ask the question and get into the topic of, the startup culture in Ireland. Is funding a barrier to the best innovations and the best startups? So, Mark, I'm going to start with you, and you mentioned to me briefly that you had experience with your local enterprise board and you found them very straightforward to deal with. Maybe Enterprise Ireland was slightly more complex. So, just in terms of approaching funders, what has your experience been to date?
Yeah, so the local enterprise office is very easy to deal with. You'll get great advice, so in terms of mentoring, they're great. In terms of networking, great. But kind of for most startups, importantly, is the finance they provide. So if you're kind of pre-MVP, you've validated your product, you've shown a clear need for your product, so you're building a product that people actually want. And you can't get a feasibility grant for the so that's €15,000 co-funded equity free. So if you're thinking about starting a business, you need to make sure that you're holding on to your equity. Equity is your glove. So if you can get yourself to a stage where maybe have 100k in funding and you haven't given away any major percentage of your company, you're in a great place because if you're doing your seed round, you're giving away 30% of it, especially in Ireland. So you need to make sure you get to a stage where by the time you've gotten to your seed or your Series A, you're still investable, you have enough equity to actually to show that you're really invested in it. So back to your question, the local enterprise office is brilliant. First place that everyone should go if they're starting a business. I think it used to have sort of this persona that it was for kind of small shops and things like that. But no matter how high tech your startup is, don't think you're too good for the local enterprise office because you get a lot of money out of it.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And Ciaran, I'm going to jump over to you here just to see, have you actually started seeking funding, and how has that experience been?
I seek funds all the time from everyone.
You're in the right room.
I suppose the biggest barrier I had with this project was trying to figure out what the hell it should be and how it's going to work. And I spent roughly 18 months just talking to everybody involved in the dog welfare world. And then when it came to actually formulating, and this is something Mark is very good at, is getting the minimum viable product. Then you sort of look at all the pieces of the jigsaw and what's involved and how much money you need. But the thing with funds and money is money has its own grammar. While funds...
You're a financial advisor, so you come with a natural advantage here.
That'll cost you 20. the funds have their own, if you like, ecology and evolution. And in any ecology, you'll have like grassroots and oak trees. And you sort of have to find, how does your spirit connect with that particular individual or plant or organization. So, to put it very quickly, with getting the dog internet structure together, it's probably valued at about 50 grand now. It's debt free, and it cost me about 1,500. And that was all through negotiation, and as Mark said, there's no end of funds there from the enterprise board if you can, if you like, pivot everything where they don't have a choice to say no.
Okay, do we have anybody from the local enterprise board or from Enterprise Ireland in the room? Very good. I wouldn't mind getting some insight into those unlimited funds. That certainly hasn't been my experience in the startup world, but it's good that you've had that experience. But actually, Isabel, I might just bring you in here because as the principal of Shore Valley Investments, it would be interesting to see what you look for when you're vetting a startup.
Yeah, absolutely. So Shore Valley is a seed fund in definition, but in actual fact we do look for traction, which isn't necessarily the definition of what seed is. So ultimately, as I said before, we look at predominantly software businesses in certain areas. So we look at augmented reality, virtual reality, Internet of Things, and AI companies. So looking at each of them is quite different. So it does tend to be a case-by-case basis, but so say for the more deep tech companies who are looking for really that technology focus, that technology stack, the founder that actually knows their stuff around that area, and we are more willing to kind of go a little bit earlier when it is IP related versus, I suppose, when we look at IoT companies, they tend to kind of transition from more of a services-based business to a more scalable product-led business. And in that respect, we are looking for kind of that traction in revenue. So, anything between 10 to 50k MRR, kind of with quite a a quicker growth rate and looking to move to that more recurring revenue model. So that's kind of how we would look at it. But we do look at a case-by-case basis.
Okay, that's good to know. And Eve, what would be your approach on this?
Yeah, so HMAN effectively is sector agnostic, so we will look at kind of everything from dog toys to medical devices. We have a number of syndicates around the country. They tend to be sector specific, so we do have a food syndicate as well as a medtech syndicate, and then we have a syndicate that looks at IoT, life sciences, telcos. And then we have an open forum as well, which is where individual angels, we do have syndicates, but we have individual angels who invest as individuals in their own right. So typically we would be looking, so in amongst all of those type of businesses, it really varies as to what stage we're at. The likes of medical devices are not going to be commercial until probably 3 to 5 years, so they're all going to be pre-revenue. Whereas maybe a SaaS type model, we're looking for product market fit, so they have validation and they're already driving revenues. So typically in that scenario, we're probably maybe looking a little bit earlier than this as well. So I will typically look for companies that are in around the 5 to 8K MRR, showing a strong growth curve with a strong pipeline. So we very much look at the companies holistically. So we look at everything from, the team, do they understand the route to market, the growth curve that they're showing, the pipeline and deals that they have there, the customer, the size of the market opportunity is going to be hugely important, as well as obviously, the problem that they're solving, what the competitive landscape looks like. So we look at it really holistically. But typically we look for companies that are showing product market fit and have a level of traction.
Yeah, and thank you. That makes absolute sense. But I would just throw it out to the entrepreneurs here, Mark and Ciaran. Do you feel that there is a transparency when you go seeking funding, that you know what's being asked of you?
Yeah, like you have to put yourself in the shoes of the investor, and if I was an investor, I'd want to see very, very clear validation. I'd want to see a clear, market sizes, he was talking about. So you have to constantly ask yourself, would I invest in myself? And you have to be fair, so there's no point kind of voting and saying, Enterprise Ireland didn't give me the grant, or they don't want to invest in me. There's a reason they don't want to invest in you. You need to take that feedback on board and go again. Because, we're at the stage now where I'm trying to give away more money than I wanted to, because I was a very limited person of funds given my age. And so we're trying to validate as much as possible, to de-risk it as much as possible for the likes of Eve and Isabel, to give away less equity. Because if I put myself in their shoes at the moment and I go, would I give Mark 250k to do his seed round with the eye? The answer would be no at the moment. So you have to be really, really fair with yourself, and there's no point moaning that you can't get funding. There's a reason you're not getting funding if you're not. So you kind of have to constantly take a step back and reevaluate and get yourself to a stage where you de-risk your business. So the stage where people are feeling comfortable and that you can reach your lofty projections.
Okay, it's like the bigs play a really big important part of that as well as the likes of the Leo and the accelerators, I think, are really important. So, before we would see them, even though they sort of, they're kind of maybe investor ready, typically they're not really investor ready once they come out of those, but they are really valuable in terms of challenging their assumptions and accelerating their business models and helping them understand that product market fit as well. And business innovation centres, which, they're equity free.
Yeah, and actually I think that's a really interesting point, because it raises a larger question. I mean, are we getting to a point within the startup ecosystem in Ireland that we're somewhat accelerated out of it? So as in we have multiple accelerators, but are they getting market-ready property or market-ready business opportunities? Are they rolling out into their first customers and their early customers, and are they getting to the scale they need?
I think there's certainly a lot of them out there. I think what startups kind of fall into the trap of is thinking they're going from accelerator to accelerator and thinking they're magically going to get investment at the end of it. Kind of going back to, you need to do your basic validation to get your product out there, find your traction. Then it's accelerator stage, and then you need to look for your first customer, because people are constantly trying to find funding. They're not working on a business. So I think people kind of get caught up in the whole funding thing, and if I don't get funding, I'm not going to build my product. But sales is the cheapest form of finance. The more sales I can get, the less equity I have to give away to these guys.
Yeah.
So,
and thank you, Mark. That's a great point. But unfortunately, it doesn't cover all some technologies are just exceptionally expensive to develop, so it's not always a case that sales will get to go over the line. And
there will be supports there in terms of like those very deep technologies that do require a lot of funding. You know, there are supports there for them, the likes of H2020 funding and innovation vouchers, and you know, so we see companies at all stages. And we'd always say you're never too early to come to talk to us. You're probably the same.
Yeah.
You know, and what, you know, most ideally what we like to see is, you know, you come and you have a conversation with us, and then we'll say to you, this is broadly what we're looking for from your company. This is where you are. We'll have a look at it, you know, and say, okay, this is where we think you need to be. Come back to us when you get there. If they come back to us earlier, then we kind of think that's going to take them even better. But oftentimes when the companies have come in to talk to us, they haven't really maxed out all the available supports that are there. The things like the innovation vouchers and their neo grants, and you know, and then for companies that are you know, deeper IP, deeper technologies, then you are looking at the likes of
I think it's a fantastic facility for any investors that are willing to meet with startups at early stages, because it helps create the roadmap of what targets we have to hit and when. Isabel, I might just head over to you to ask, when you're looking at a business and a potential startup, you know, we understand. Well, actually, you might just explain maybe the due diligence process.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know really what the X factor is that you're looking for.
Good question. I suppose, like, you know, at the seed stage, it is a lot about the team. So ultimately, and to kind of reiterate what was said, I actually love meeting founders kind of too early. So it does give me that chance to build a relationship, actually see, you know, and like Neve said, oftentimes we'll sit there and say, okay, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Kind of throw ideas out there, maybe point them in the right direction of what we think they should do, and to connect them maybe to the right people. So that's definitely something I love to see. Then obviously when they come to the point where we're looking to invest, so ultimately you go through a process, then you meet the founder, they pitch to you, you dig deeper. So a lot of it is work that we would do ourselves to understand the area a bit more. We might bring in experts in areas that we don't have as much knowledge to kind of give us a bit more of a steer. But ultimately the X factor is kind of you're looking for a founder who, you know, either they're technical or they're a salesperson. They're willing to go through walls to try and execute on the product, and they've kind of really thought about the customer, what the problem is, and how they can execute on that.
And on a personal level, say within the team, you know, certainly within the ecosystem at the moment, we're told quite frequently that, you know, single founders find it quite difficult, and it really is all about the team when it comes to investment stage. So can you tell me anything about the dynamics of the team that you'd be looking for?
Yeah, so, you know, even within our portfolio, we have a lot of still founders as well, and it is, I think, ultimately to get to scale and to build this big business, you need to bring on someone else to kind of be a co-founder with you. So, you know, if it's a technical founder, potentially what we're looking for is to help bring on someone that can help them with the operations side or with the sales side. So ultimately, alongside the capital, what we try to do is build a platform approach. So helping those companies, whether that be talent acquisition, you know, sales training, marketing with a view to sales, which ultimately brings them traction, which gets them from that next level of funding. So that's kind of very key to our approach in how we build out those teams. But ultimately, as I said before, we are looking for deep tech companies, that we are looking for something where there's a technical founder.
And how do you vet that technology?
So within the team itself, we have, so Barry, my boss, would be quite technical, so an element of the DD would be done by him and the wider team, but ultimately we would, again, you leverage, the nature of a VC business or a fund is quite small, so you actually have to kind of leverage your own networks to try and really assess like technical capabilities, sales capabilities, product market fit, so that is kind of an all-encompassing.
Very good. Thank you. So it's interesting to get some insights into what the VCs are looking for, but and actually all forms of funders and investors. But maybe Ciaran, you might tell me as a business, what barriers you found in terms of finance, or what would be you'd be looking for in terms of support?
Finance is an interesting one. It's my favourite subject. Show of hands, anybody know what the word finance actually means and where it comes from? Basically, Latin for fin, to finish with something. In other words, it's the point of agreement. So when you finance something, you've actually finished the point of sale or the point of negotiation, and it's as simple as that. So the key to finance is really, how do you change, like finance, the primary reason for cash in a society is price stability. So if you're looking to build funds, forget looking for the money, build the argument. It's as simple as that. Like one of the barriers, you know, when I worked in the financial world, the joke was, how do you get a loan from a bank? The answer is prove you don't need it.
Well, now it's interesting. You're saying that, you know, maybe in a half-joking way, but actually one of the memes going around about VC is always, you know, if you want money, ask for advice, and if you want advice, ask for money, and that seems to be the theme of the first couple of months, certainly, of knocking on doors, looking for funding and investment. And before our panel today, I did throw out this topic to a group of entrepreneurs actually in the DC Rhine Academy. And some of the questions that came up, I won't go through all of them, some of them are very specific, but actually one of the questions came in, is it true that if you need the money you won't get it, but if you don't need the money you'll get it? And you've actually touched on that point, so I have to bring the investors in to maybe discuss that.
I think, you know, ultimately cash burn is the key, and that's the key to founders wanting how much cash they have. And I think when you kind of don't keep an eye on the cash, you run into a problem whereby you're in a rush to raise money, and actually that's when it becomes quite hard. So starting those conversations early on, knowing exactly how much you're burning when you need to raise that next round of money is the key to it. So, you know, yeah, it's, you know, there's a certain level of truth in what you've said, but I think it's also behind that there's an element of monitoring and being on top of what's happening underneath it all.
Very good, thank you. And one of the other questions that came in actually from that group of entrepreneurs, we have an interesting dynamic here insofar as our two investors are female, the two entrepreneurs are male, and the group that I took these questions for were a female group who had only dealt with male investors. And that came up actually, that drew a number of different problems in terms of beauty and cosmetic and skincare range that the founder felt there was a lack of female VCs that you could speak to. But one of the questions that came up is, should there be diversity quotas within allocation of VC funding? So I'm actually going to throw that out to each member of the group.
Well, I'll address maybe the fact that they struggle to get funding in terms of their product, first of all, if that's okay. I think, you know, if you're showing the right level of market fit, I think it's incorrect to say that male investors don't understand the size of that market. I absolutely think they do. I think they're very willing to invest in it. I think there needs to be a level product market fit. That's what it's about. It's about showing validation. You can show the validation. The fact that it's targeted, the product is targeted at a female audience is not going to be a barrier for them. So I think there is a misconception there. Well, we work really hard in HVAC. We know we are below average in Ireland in terms of the amount of female investors we have. So we have started a program whereby we are actively going into the market and seeking to try and encourage female investors to come into the network. You know, diversity, and it's not just about gender. Diversity needs to be cross-border, it needs to be cultural, it needs to be age, and experience as well. So bringing all of that to the table from an investor point of view is really important. But also it means, on the flip side of that is, from an entrepreneur's experience, it means that they are meeting people who have similar experiences or backgrounds, whatever, to themselves. And that can only be a win. We run things like we run masterclasses for female angels now, because we're trying to encourage them into the ecosystem. We have a very significant amount of companies that pitch to us are female-led. Either they have a co-founders or they're individual, they're CEOs themselves, and they're very successful in terms of securing funding. So that would be our experience.
In response, you would see that this is not something that would attract any sort of quota.
Do I think I'm probably I'm a little torn on it. I suppose my own background is I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm co-founder of 3 businesses. I'm still a member of the board of those businesses. I never found it a barrier, and I think if you put that up front, I think it can become a barrier for you. However, having said that, I think if you do a really good job, you need to focus on getting sales and doing a really good job and doing the best that you can. And having said that, do I think quotas are a good thing? I don't know. I struggle with it a little bit. I think maybe it's a temporary solution, because if we don't do that, we're going to be in a scenario whereby we don't have diversity, either in board or entrepreneurs. I don't know what your thoughts are in terms of quotas.
I'm the same. I kind of struggle with quotas as well. I think to a certain degree, to get it to a level playing field, that's probably where, not a level playing field, but at least kind of in and around that is potentially where quotas may play a part. But likewise, I've always worked in male-dominated environments, and there are definitely challenges, and there's definitely a need for a bit of change. But I think even in order to encourage more diversity, I think ultimately from the investor level, having more diverse teams on the investment decision-making panels of investment committees is definitely key to encouraging that kind of uplift to more diverse teams and more diverse founders. But I think ultimately you have to take a company by its credit and its merit and what they've done, like how they've done this and that, and what they have achieved in a certain time frame. So to say let's allocate that amount of funding for diverse teams, I think
EI have done well. I get why they did the female founder CSF, and that seems to have done really quite well.
I think where on the diverse team subject, what I do see when I see founders is sometimes there is a difference in kind of, I suppose, confidence levels of potentially non-diverse teams versus diverse teams, and I think that's where the help is needed in terms of kind of pushing them forward in terms of going for those, going for funding or going for those sales, or just it's more of a kind of a building process in terms of mentality and how they should strive to achieve.
There's statistics out that show that typically they would not as much confidence, they typically don't ask for quite as much money, and maybe in terms of ambition, but I would think that's changing. We don't tend to see that usually.
And absolutely, we'd like to see that. And maybe then for Mark and Ciaran, is this a factor that has influenced your team building, or is it something that's influenced your journey so far?
I haven't grown enough to be able to have experienced, having enough people in front of me, or having enough open roles that I need to start thinking about stuff like that. But yeah, on the diversity point, I think everyone should get what they deserve, whether they're black, white, male or female. But the likes of girls in tech and all these female hackathons in terms of getting people to the same level is definitely the answer in terms of quotas. I think you get it if you deserve at the end of the day. But yeah, pushing people to the right levels. And there actually are studies. I read a study a couple of months ago, I can't remember the exact figures now. It was actually talking about the success of investments into female founders, into African American founders, and it actually was nearly that the more diverse the founder was, it was nearly that they were more successful in returning investment to the VC. So I don't think we should be giving money because they're female. You should give money because
you get
and it's not it's not like you give money to the female and they're less likely to do well. It's the complete opposite. So it's
all of the stats show that the more diverse the team in terms of age, race, gender, everything, that's generally a more robust team in terms of success. Ciaran, is this anything that has impacted your startup journey so far?
Well, diverse it's a lovely word. And if you look at the last part of that word, the verse and the song, the voice. So if you're trying to build a diverse team, you really need different voices, not just people who look different to gender, race or age or anything, but can actually think different and work together.
That's a really important point. Yeah. Diversity of mindset.
Exactly.
So vital.
So you look at some of the greatest failures in the world, and they'll roll their lovely diverse team in front of the media, and the media will go, wow, wonderful. And they all think exactly the same way all the time. And usually the way the founder or the leader is, and there's no disputes, there's no contra voice. And sure enough, the investors wake up one day and gosh, where's all our money gone? So the simplest thing is you're looking for the quality of the voice. Quite often the voice that would tell you need to hit a higher note or a different note.
No, I think diversity of mindset is the perfect way to say it when building a team, that's what you're looking for. And there was one very blunt question here. If the panel were offered 1 million funding from Enterprise Ireland for 10%, or 1 million funded from a VC for 10%, which would they choose?
Enterprise Ireland is going to end up giving 10% anyway, whether it be through CSF or through matching your seed round. But I think I've never had to deal with VC in terms of investments, so I can't talk about what it's like to deal with something. We have to deal with very limited number of private investors, and obviously they're going to be much more friendly to us. But that's my experience.
Okay, Isabel, have you?
Yes, well, I think obviously it depends. Like, not a great answer, but to your point about dealing with VCs, I think what's really key for an entrepreneur is to do their homework. Because VC money is a different type of money, and it comes with requirements and board members, and so I think you need to find the right fit for you if you're going for VC money. You need to make sure that your business is a VC business, that you're going for a big market opportunity, and you need to then vet investors. So that means talking to their portfolio companies, understanding how they deal with them, talking to the people in their networks, looking at kind of what they've done before, the DNA of the VC fund. And I think in certain ecosystems, it's easier to do that because there's more available capital, so you actually have a lot more choice. Whereas when capital is a little bit restricted, entrepreneurs are a little bit restricted by they have to, they need the money, so they'll figure the rest out later. So it just does depend on what you need it for and the situation.
No, that's a very fair point, and I'm conscious that we're limited on time. So I want to throw it out to the floor because we have a great opportunity while the panelists are here. Are there any questions? Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, one moment. Do we have a microphone? Yeah, there's a microphone on its way down to you. And I know we're going to be thrown off stage in the next few minutes, so does anybody else have questions? Thank you.
Hi, how are you? That was great, thank you very much. My name is Clodagh and I'm from Simsy Singh. I just want to ask a question for Ciaran and also for the rest of the panel. And just seeing from experience of other entrepreneurs that I've known who've been in the funding circle, and for time and time again they stay locked in that. I'm not going against it, but they stay in that and they never leave it, and the product never gets there, they never get out there, they never get into the world, and they never get seen, and I'm just asking a question of when at a point you go, okay, I'm ready to fly.
Who would you like to direct that question
well,
to?
Ciaran and then one other of the
Ciaran.
It's very simple. You start to fly when you fall off the cliff.
That's my favourite answer of the day, by the way.
There is, I'll answer this in sort of reverse, where there's a very brilliant quote from Ernest Hemingway after he went bankrupt. He was asked, how did you go bankrupt? And he said, at first very slowly and then quickly. And that moment where you fly is, you put in the bloody work and you shake everybody's hand, and one day you wake up and nothing happens and you have 10 euros in your bank account. And I think that's the test. If you can get through that particular day or minute or hour, then everything else, it starts to fall into place. It's a very tricky one to explain it, but I have a strange hobby where I get into a cage with dangerous aggressive dogs on the weekends. It's okay, it's less worrying than being on a stage panel. And you sort of know there's a point when there's an acceptance, and it's like, okay, not only are you ready, but the world is ready for you. And I don't think it's as smooth as just a runway and money and everything like that. It's a mixture of organised chaos and your prayers have been answered.
I think it comes back to making sure that you raise enough money to give yourself enough time to grow your business. So if you're doing your seed round, you make sure that you have 18 months runway, so that you have 12 months to fully focus on your business, and then give yourself 6 months for your Series A. I think if you're raising your seed round and then 6 months later you're already looking at Series A, you're not growing your business. You're looking at fun. If you're dating these guys trying to get money out of them, you're not focused on your business. So.
And that's actually a really good point, because fundraising is a full-time job for a business. So thank you so much. That was a great question. Sorry, what's more here? Yeah, is that there? Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. Joseph for Clearside Communications. It's a question for Neve and Isabella. Do either of your organisations provide either an information pack or events to advise applicants on how best to approach it?
Yeah, so we on our website, actually hban.org, there's a full section there for entrepreneurs, and it'll talk you through how to pitch to HBAN, the engagement process that we have. We use a Gust platform, so platform how to upload your information to it. Once you contact us, then we will contact you back, and we'll hop on a phone call with you, have a chat about where your business is, happy to meet for a cup of coffee. We would get on average probably about I think it's north of 500 referrals a year. Out of that, you probably look at about 150 in any great detail, and out of that, then we select maybe 4 or 5 for each pitching event every month. September to June. So it is quite a thorough sifting process. But we do actually provide packs as well. I don't actually have them with me today, my apologies, but give me a shout afterwards, we're more than happy to provide them. So there is an angel pack, an investor pack, or and an entrepreneur pack as well. So yeah.
Thank you.
I think probably ours is less formalised. We wouldn't have, if you go on our website, you can kind of see what we look to invest into, some of our portfolio companies. We tend, just because of the lack of bandwidth within the team, it's harder to do that, investor ready pack. We do leverage Enterprise Ireland, NRC, one of the accelerator programs, and we attend a lot of events, and at that point we do talk to entrepreneurs. We also run open office hours as well, so that's where a company can come and speak to the investors and understand what they need and have some advice.
Okay, thank you, Isabel. We have time for one more question.
What does that do with anything?
Sorry, I'll just get you a microphone here.
I'm sorry, we're running too much anyway, so it doesn't matter.
And this is nothing to do with what you said, really. It's just about why do people every year, when they're on the website, say it's 2019 this year, why don't they just go on whatever is on 2019 happening, then you have to scroll back to look for anything you want to do.
So is this, you're having difficulty accessing the information, like the events that are coming up?
No, but when it says 2018, that's over. They should get rid of what's there and put it on to 2019 and then next year 2020. So people just know what's on 2020 or 2019.
Okay.
Instead of scrolling back and trying to figure out when they're on or are they on anymore or are they gone. Because some of them are left on.
I genuinely understand your frustration. I think that's something that applies to a lot of businesses. So what I'm saying,
that's the first thing you should say to people.
startups in the room, take note of that. That annoys people. So keep your website current.
People won't have to go to things that won't even care about it. You can't find your information straight away. And then when they ring your office, don't put it on hold. Just say, I'll ring you back in an hour.
Well, that's a great point. I think actually all of us can learn from that and keep our websites up to date. So thank you very much. That's a great point. So look, on that note, I'm going to thank my panelists here today. So Mark, Isabel, and Neve, and Ciaran, thank you so much.